Transition, the process of change from one condition to another.
We are now at a new crossroad where change is evident once again.
What does not serve us must transform us anew.
Returning to our original state of oneness and true nature of that which created who we truly are.
Confusion was the way of the past. Enlightenment is the way of the now and future. Shedding away the layers of deceit.
We now bring you the transformation of the two who started as one. Our fearless planet never stands still.
Earth has been in a process of transition, and we are not exempt from this remarkable ongoing reality.
Well, good evening and welcome to Transitions Radio's Real Talk with the Cummings. My name is Mark Angelo.
And I'm Lynna Ariel. Thank you guys for joining us tonight on this warm, summery evening.
Well, it's not as bad this week as last week. Last week we were like in the 104, 105s.
Yeah, we had like, what was it, like a little windstorm come through and no rain.
No rain, yeah. Although we're getting darker and darker. There's one of our neighbors that as we're out in the sun walking around and just being in nature a lot. And she said to us, every time I see you, you guys change color.
Yeah, we're changing tone every time.
Totally. But that's, I love the sun. I really do. I really enjoy the heat and feeling that warm kiss of the sun. Welcome, Elliot.
Yeah, welcome, Elliot.
Hope all is well with you. Yes. Long time no see. So, things in the world continue to just get weirder and weirder. And, there is so much focus on negative. There are so many people out there just focus on conspiracies. And I used to be a conspiracy nut myself at one point. And I just find out that doesn't solve anything.
No,
can't live that way, worried about the boogeyman and everything and everyone is out to get us. What's going to happen is going to happen. The only thing we have control over is ourselves, our peace of mind, being calm. Hey, Dylan, welcome. So, we just have to stop this consciousness overload, which is what's happening,
Yeah, it's like all this fear-mongering and conspiracy, exploitation and stuff. And all it does is just conjure up more fear, more like negativity, and it really helps no one.
Brings a lot of anger, a lot of division, and whether there is certain things happening or not, what does it do if people continue to just rile up each other, get people angry? I mean, there are people out in the streets now with bazookas and guns, and like, when has that ever been allowed?
Like, what in the world is happening?
It's
almost like it's like staged and it's not really like something that should be allowed to be.
I know. It's just,
we got married and I had to like put my cell phone through like a magnetic whatever thing and then you're like at the airport.
Yeah.
These people are walking into
with bazookas and stuff.
It just seems far-fetched.
Yeah, or it's just because, there's the whole militia thing and it's just wrong. It's just, two wrongs don't make a right. Riling up people to want to hurt one another is not right. The only thing we have control over is our peace of mind, staying away from fear and being in love. So today's show is going to be focused a lot on that, on how you could help yourselves in this situation without falling for all the crazy conspiracies and being fearful and fighting one another. That doesn't solve a single thing. So one of the things I find it's very helpful, and we've been doing it a lot lately, is meditating. And I find what meditating does for me is helps me really get into a deeper sleep.
Well, we have been sleeping. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah, sleeping
because like once, we get in bed like 8:30 or something, and then have the meditation going
Yeah.
for 45 minutes and I'm
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. And that's,
So-
that's a beautiful thing. We need to repair. We're constantly worried, and there's so much news and information coming in from your little smartphone, and we're constantly being bombarded. That's not good for your health, for your nervous system. You need to really learn how to bring down that overload into your consciousness. And one of the things that helps us with that is sleep. Okay, so one of the articles that I picked for today is talking about sleep and the stages of sleep. And a lot of people don't realize how important sleep really is for them. So even though sleep seems like a passive process, right? It's not. Sleep is an active state that is as complex as wakefulness. Your brain doesn't shut down during sleep. Rather, your brain is involved in a wide variety of vital processes geared towards its own repair and regeneration, restoring stamina, strength, and function to prepare for the day ahead.
All of the happenings in your sleep life are built into something that scientists call your quote unquote sleep architecture. That's a big term for how your sleep is laid out and the process that your body must go through before it feels completely rested.
I mean, hey, we plug in our phones when the battery's low, we plug in our computers, but people don't think of plugging themselves or unplugging so you could revamp. So there are two main types of sleep that you need to know about. You have the non-REM sleep, which is NREM for short, which includes light and deep sleep. Accounts for about 75% of your sleeping time. Rapid eye movement, which is also known as REMS, sleep is where you may spend some time dreaming. This typically takes place during the last third of your night's sleep.
I wanted to say that we wanted to say hello to Marcy.
Hey, Marcy.
Thank you for joining us.
And Dylan, I mentioned earlier,
Yeah,
he had been
Dylan.
away for a while, so
Yeah.
it's nice to have you back,
It's
Dylan.
nice to have the regulars here today.
Yes.
While you're snoozing, you usually go through 4 to 5 sleep cycles that they begin in light NREM sleep and end in REM sleep, with each cycle taking between 70 and 120 minutes to complete.
So let's check out what your body's doing during these 3 stages of sleep and why they are so important.
Wait a second. Elliot asked a really nice question.
Okay, let's see.
And I used to wonder too.
Okay, so meditation. People think it's some sort of like you need to give your firstborn and things of that nature. There's many different levels of meditating. And I truly believe that is not something that you need like a cookbook for. The way we meditate is we lay in bed, put on some meditative music. YouTube has a slew of different types of meditative music. You just kind of like relax your mind, try not to allow thoughts to go in there. The mind will try to think about things that you have forgotten to do or whatever, and you quietly and gently redirect yourself to just breathing and not thinking, and let the body do its thing. There's, everybody has different ways of doing it. You got to find what works for you. And trust me, although it doesn't seem like anything is really happening because you're like just laying there and just like trying to like not have thoughts, there's something very deep happening in the alpha waves in your brain when you meditate.
A lot of times, and this comes from a person who grew up as a Christian, so the concept of like quieting your mind, and I was told that it was like inviting spirits and stuff into your brain and into your mind and stuff. But Dylan said, I've never been able to meditate, can't keep my mind clear. There's always something going on up there. And that's the important thing, is that we need to allow ourselves to go into that blank place of nothingness, that place of like where there's nothing happening. That's where you want to be. And you don't really try to get there. You just let it sit. You just let your brain just kind of like go on a holiday, basically, because your brain's not necessary for this type of activity. It's not preferred. Even like, I guess, they say focus on your breathing and all that, but even then, I think focus on nothing.
Right. What I try to
let your
do,
brain go quiet.
what I try to do is like in the beginning of the meditation, I kind of talk to my higher self, and I kind of set the stage of what I want to accomplish during that meditative session. And it's almost like, I want to focus on alleviating the pain. And so I send loving energy to parts of my shoulders and things of that nature. And, just allowing my higher self to guide me into this meditative state, and then just focus on my breathing. But everyone's different. Marcy has a statement: guided meditation helps to start to train your brain to shut up. And basically that's it. There are a lot of, and we're planning to eventually maybe do some guided, but right now it's just kind of like we're just listening to the music and see where it goes from there. And so far, I mean, it's really restful, and it's really peaceful, and I believe it's doing its thing. So,
we were doing some paid meditation courses or whatever when we were in Soda City. And I remember that one of them was just one where you stood up and you were like basically walking and meditating. So meditation doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be still in the sense of like not moving at all, but there are different ways of meditating. I mean, sometimes people meditate when they walk.
Just kind of clear the cobwebs in your brain and kind of like stop focusing on thinking and just being. Pretty much.
I mean, some people like find it very much a meditation to be out in their garden.
Yeah. Exactly.
So people find meditation just sitting out in nature.
Definitely.
So it's really something that if you're thinking about what you're doing too much, then you're not really meditating.
Yeah. Because then you're like so worried about not being able to clear your mind. And like I said, because I have gone to meditative classes even before being with you, I used to like really focus on that. And one of the things they taught me is be gentle with yourself, because your mind has been used to being in control all the time. So it's going to be like the elephant in the room. So very gently, you just kind of like, thank you. I hear your thoughts. I know that you want to be involved, but right now I need you to just be quiet for a little bit. I'll get to you in a little bit. Focus on your breathing. The mind will come back in. You very gently push that thought process out and continue focusing on your breathing.
And then understanding that there's really no magical place that we're going to when we meditate. It's not like there's some kind of reward for, stilling your mind. I mean, if anything happens, then wonderful, it's a bonus, but that shouldn't be like the goal.
Exactly.
Because then you're like chasing like some kind of dopamine or something.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And the whole concept of it is just quieting the mind. And that's where the alpha waves kick in. And that's things that are going to happen. You're not going to magically feel like you're euphoric or something. Things happen within the spiritual level of you. It's deeper than we care to know. And just keep pursuing, try to do it every day. It's very beneficial. Totally.
Dylan says, my brain never really stops thinking about stuff, but sometimes I feel detached from physical reality when my mind wanders and I start heavily daydreaming. I don't know if that counts as anything.
That is a form of meditation. You're actually, and I used to do that a lot when I was in my teenage years. I would sit in my room in my rocking chair, listening to music, and I would create my world, and it felt very real to me. That was my way of disassociating from the environment that I was in. And that's a form of meditation because you're calming yourself from this reality.
And Elliot says, I think I feel meditative while walking my dog friend Jackson. It's so peaceful to go for a walk with him.
That's awesome. And you got to find what works for you. And there's so much information out there on meditation. But I think that trying to follow somebody else's cookbook is not the right way. You got to find what works for you and do it daily. And before you know it, you'll be there, wherever there is. So anyway, let's look at the different sleep stages. Light sleep is the transitional stage between wakefulness and sleep. Sleep onset, the process of falling asleep, takes place during this stage. You'll spend half of your total sleep in this stage. As the brain activity slows down from waking levels, the body also relaxes physically as heart rate and breathing decrease. Light sleep is a state of full but not deep sleep, and it's still easy to wake from the stage.
Deep sleep, also known as slow wave sleep, typically accounts for 10 to 20% of your total sleep time, depending on your age. During this stage, brainwaves slow considerably, heart rate and breathing slow, blood pressure lowers, muscles relax, and it becomes difficult to wake up. Deep sleep is a critical time for physical restoration. Repair occurs at the cellular level, restoring strength and function to tissue, muscles, and organs throughout the body. During these sleep stages, the body also turns its attention to restoring functions to the immune system.
So this is why it's so important to really get sleep. Most people don't ever get to that deep sleep level. They're light sleepers because all this technology, you're the type of person that goes to bed with, modern technology in front of your face that's emitting all sorts of wavelength. You're messing with the sleep cycle, and it's important to be in that deep sleep because that's what allows your nervous system to repair, your body repair. It's so important. And I know many, many, many people do not get deep sleep. REM sleep is where you reach REM, which is rapid eye movement sleep, for the first time approximately 90 minutes into the night. Periods of REM sleep start as brief, but REM sleep gets progressively longer throughout the night. During REM sleep, the brain significantly increases its activity level compared to the other sleep phases. While in REM, your eyes move rapidly in different directions, hence the name. Heart rate and blood pressure increases, and breathing becomes fast, irregular, and shallow. Most dreaming and REM rebound occurs during this phase. If you wake up with an awareness of having been dreaming, you likely awoke from REM sleep. If you wake up with an awareness and memory of a sleep dream, you likely woke from REM sleep. REM sleep is a critical phase of sleep for learning and memory, at a time when the brain consolidates, processes, and stores information. This is the mental restoration stage of sleep. So notice all the different levels and stages.
Marcy says, a tip I was told was thoughts are okay. Just stop negative or stressful thoughts and tell yourself, stop, redirect thoughts, and listen to positive inner dialogue. I do that before bed to stop racing thoughts.
That's good.
So another stage of sleep is wake. As you go through all of the sleep stages, it's typical for your body to enter brief times of awakening. It's perfectly normal to awaken between sleep stages, and often while in light sleep, your body is more susceptible to short periods of wake.
All stages of sleep are important. It is the balance of time spent in each sleep stage that is critical to feeling fully rested and refreshed, and to having the mental and physical energy to meet the requirements of the waking day. By creating habits and routines that promote healthy sleep, you help your body maintain the integrity of your own individual sleep architecture to the benefits of your long-term health. And we find that, that a lot of people aren't really sleeping. They sleep 4 hours, 5 hours. Imagine if you're only sleeping 4 or 5 hours, you're not getting the full cycles. You're only getting partial. And I think that's one of the reasons that people have a lower immune system. They're getting cancer. Their cells are not restoring themselves. So sleep is one of those things that I believe is responsible in keeping a healthy consciousness.
And what happens when we get sick? Our body demands sleep.
Yeah, definitely. So.
Diablo joins us. Hello, Diablo. And Dylan says, my sleep never completes a full cycle because I've got a bad case of insomnia, intense enough to keep me awake till 2 or 3 a.m.
That's the only time I've ever gotten insomnia is if I'm concerned about something. Then I start ruminating. And if that happens while I'm not in bed, that's not good. That's why usually right before I go to bed, I don't like to be thinking about anything. I don't like to put myself in any stressful conversations or anything. It's just like, if I don't catch that cycle, then I'm messed up. Then I can't sleep for the rest of the night. So one of the things I recommend, Dylan, is like right before you sleep, try not to have any of the gadgets on. Try not to be thinking about anything that worries you, and just kind of like get yourself in a worry, stress-free place in your mind. Listen to some music, meditative type music, and just turn off all your devices and sleep away. Because if you're thinking about something when you get to bed, you can bet your bottom dollar that you're going to be having insomnia for the rest of the night.
Also, you can try, turning off your devices, but not only that, turning off all of the mobile frequencies and the Wi-Fi frequencies. So literally turn your phone literally off. And if you have Wi-Fi and you can't sleep, practice turning off your router even, so that there's no Wi-Fi going around.
I also notice that when you're active during the day, a lot of walking and things of that nature, you get tired. Do something physical, maybe a few hours before you go to bed so that you're tired. Make sure you're hydrating yourself, drinking water, so the nervous system is getting what it needs. It's very important. And Marcy says, Dylan, I've always been a night person. My body doesn't want to sleep till about 2-ish. Some of us are just second shift people. LOL. But yes, like Mark said, try to relax before bed too. One of the things I would always tell my clients when I had bodies under construction, and I know that people get into habits. See, Marcy, you're in the habit of going to bed that late, as are you, Dylan. That's habits. You could break those habits. It's not that's the type of person that you are. You've created that for yourself. And at first it's hard. But you get to bed early because you used to be a night owl too.
Yeah.
And
especially pre-transition. I mean, my brain was ruminating all the time.
And that's part of it. So if you make a new habit and you stop going to bed so late, I would tell my clients, and this is true, we're cycle beings. We have cycles. After 11 o'clock at night, your body starts to detoxify. If you aren't sleeping, not just in bed, if you aren't sleeping by 11 o'clock, your toxification starts to not detoxification starts to not work, and then you have buildup of toxicity, and that creates problems throughout your body. So if you're wondering why you're sick, why you have this and the other, you're not allowing your body to detoxify at the set time, because everything in our body is based on cycles. As much as we think that we are a certain way, everyone's the same when it comes to that. We create habits that are not good for us, and then you need to get yourself in balance and then the right habits for the body.
Yeah, I mean, HGH is produced only between the hours of 4 a.m. and 5 or something like that. Yeah. So if you're awake at 4, you just missed your ability to rejuvenate and to regenerate.
Because we're cyclical. Whether we want it or not, we create bad habits that steer us away from it. But that's when we start getting disorders and anxiety and not feeling good and having thoughts and rumination, is because we're not doing for our bodies what we need to do. I know it's hard, but you got to break old habits and create new ones. And it only takes a few weeks. That's all it takes to create a new habit. Break away your old one and create new ones, and you will feel better.
And literally, physically doing things that really get you tired, those things will help you get to bed earlier. Because, I mean, since we've been walking a bunch, we go for walks, we drink water. Yeah. Our bedtime has, with the meditation, our bedtime has changed, because I'm tired. Yeah. After we eat, and we walk 8 miles or something. I mean, so you got to get yourself tired out, like we used to do with the kitties. Yeah. We used to tire the kitties out, because if not, they keep you out.
And remember, sleep is very important. That's why I wanted to read that article before I go into the whole consciousness overload. The brain, if it doesn't get what it needs, you're going to have mental issues. And there's a whole slew of different things that modern humans get. And then you think you have to take medication for it. But it's not natural to take medication for things. It's natural to do for the body what the body needs. And you're going to find yourself feeling better in the long run.
And these are modern day Western world problems, because native cultures really didn't deal with those types of things
Exactly.
like we do now,
Mhm.
you know, with all the pharmaceuticals and everything that we deal with.
Mhm.
But all these modern stressors that we're a part of every single day.
That's right.
So Dylan says what?
It's less of an anxiety thing and more of an obsessive daydreaming thing. If I'm alone for long periods of time, my mind will slip into a vivid imaginary world. It's so bad that it actually keeps me from sleep dreaming. So, bottom line, it's harming you. You know, you're young now, but it will catch up with you. So, I mean, I'm not telling you what to do, but if you want emotional, mental, and physical health, you've got to contribute to your health. And by not allowing yourself to get in those behavior, obsessive daydreaming thing, or worried about, or ruminating, or whatever it is that you're doing, it's harming you in the long run. So it's up to you to be able to change that. That is, if you want health, you know. And he also
Says Marcy, I'm not a night or morning person. It seems I'm up all hours. I'm permanently exhausted all the time. That's
good.
I mean, I'm not going to be your mom or anything, but that's not good, Dylan. I mean, seriously,
You know?
that you need to figure something out for that, because that is going to prematurely age you and make you more susceptible. Your immune system is obviously not going to be at a very high.
Yeah, it's going to lower your immune system,
Yeah.
just like the article said. I mean, it's like we need to regenerate, just like our battery, just like anything. It needs to regenerate. Your brain needs to regenerate. Your body needs to regenerate in order to have a healthy immune system.
And it is a choice.
It is.
You know, I mean, we're not victims. We are the ones that can liberate ourselves from our bad habits. You know, if I had a bad habit in the past where I would like not sleep and stuff and then feel like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm not tired. And then
Yeah.
like be like awake
Yeah.
all day and then the next day. And
Yeah.
then I'd be like
And then your
totally
eyes,
crashing,
yeah,
aging.
the eyes, the puffiness of the
Oh my
eye,
gosh, yeah.
the irritability, because people become irritated when they can't sleep and things of that nature. But here we have an emotional intelligence toolkit, okay, to try to make a happier you. This is going to help balance your stress or emotion, improving your relationships, and bringing your life into balance. And that's what it's all about. Balance.
Marcy says that Lynna and Mark are our online mom and dad. LOL. Thanks. Always have great advice.
Well, you know, we want you guys to be better yous and to take care of yourself, and especially now. I mean, gosh, it's a crazy world we're living in.
Yeah,
You know?
it's the world's stressful enough.
I know.
Why add more pressure to your body?
Exactly. So, have you ever felt like stress, anxiety, depression, or anger was controlling you? Do you often act impulsively, doing or saying things you know you shouldn't, only to regret it later? Or do you feel disconnected from your feelings and are emotionally numb? These can all be signs that you need to work on building your emotional intelligence.
By learning to keep stress and emotions in check, you'll not only improve how you communicate with others, but you'll also be able to get off the emotional roller coaster, quote unquote, even out extremes in mood, and bring your life into balance. This toolkit will show you how.
It'll help guide emotional intelligence tool. Well, this helps guides emotional intelligence toolkit is a step-by-step guide that can help you to change self-defeating moods and attitudes. Because many people do, they have this self-defeating, like I can't change.
This is how I am.
am. I'm doomed. Quickly manage stress and anxiety. Stay connected to what you feel as well as think, and follow through on your hopes and your dreams.
And one of the questions we ask is why emotions matter. The toolkit is based on the recent transformation that have taken place in the field of psychology. Emotion is at the heart of clinical theory and is seen as the foundation to psychological change. We also now know that all of our thinking benefits greatly from having an emotional component.
As you develop the capacity to better recognize and understand your own emotions, you'll find it easier to appreciate how others are feeling, improving how you communicate, and helping your personal and professional relationships to flourish. And as you bring stress into balance and learn to tolerate even unpleasant emotions, you'll discover that your capacity for experiencing positive emotion has grown and intensified. You'll find it easier to play, laugh, and experience joy. No matter how stressed out or emotionally out of control you feel now, by drawing on these tools, life can and will get lighter and brighter.
Maybe we could get our current president to follow some of this advice,
I think
because
so.
he obviously cannot handle any kind of pressure.
None.
I mean,
He
one
tried.
woman just asks him an honest question about the fact that testing doesn't matter in this country. Really? Is it really that big of a deal to be in charge of the lead of the testing around the world, as if it's some kind of competition? And the president, he gets irate and racist.
He can't handle criticism and he gets very defensive. He doesn't have a place to draw and have normal emotional communication with people without being demeaning and hurtful.
Before we begin learning the skills of emotional intelligence that enable us to override stress and stay healthy and happy, it's important to first take a look at things we do that can block our ability to acquire new habits.
So step one, learn to quickly relieve stress. Being able to manage and relieve stress is the key to staying balanced, focused, and in control no matter what challenges you face in life. Because people like to make excuses. Oh, but but nothing's ever going to be perfect. So you need to learn how to handle stress in whatever situation, whatever gets thrown your way. So as well as helping you cope with day-to-day stressors, employing quick stress relief techniques will also help you bring your nervous system, which is crucial, into balance when practicing the meditation part of this toolkit.
We're watching this series on Netflix called El Dragón, and it's in Spanish, but it's showing us lots of lessons about people and their emotional capacity to handle stress, and how in the Eastern Oriental cultures that they have a way of dealing with things that are very much different, because they welcome pain, they welcome those negative feelings, and they take them and they absorb them, and they feel them and they utilize them.
Right. They embrace it instead of running away. I mean, here in this Western culture, we always want to feel good. We always want everything to be perfect. We don't want our feelings to be hurt. We don't want to be questioned. And that's part of growth, is allowing your feelings to get hurt, allowing pain into your life so you become stronger emotionally, physically. And then nothing can hurt you.
Yeah, it's like if someone offends you, right? In those types of cultures and those ancient ways of being, they have a way of just absorbing it and letting it like settle inside without having to, like throw things back out.
Exactly.
It's like
it's not a tit for tat in life.
It's almost like it's welcome as a way to teach.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, all right.
Unlike our president, somebody asks him something, or he gets defensive, and then he has to throw his narcissistic way and try to hurt the person that's asking him the question, because in his mind that question is offensive and horrible, and when it's really not. But people they over exaggerate what they hear, and that's one of the things we need to work on, filtering what's being said to us and not automatically thinking that we have to be defensive in order to feel right.
So we had Agnieszka, someone, ask a question about V's, and we don't really talk about V's on our show.
No.
So
Anyways,
to each their own on
right.
that. But Marcy says, it's so crazy you guys are on this topic, because I just told my doctor I have a very hard time getting up from deep REM sleep, to the point of not knowing reality from dreams. What is it?
When first
When
awakened.
first awakening.
Sometimes, yeah, I've had that situation where you're so deep into REM and you feel like paralyzed and you want to wake up, but you're so into that heavy dream and you like want to get out of that dream stage. Sometimes the body does that to you. It's order like it's trying to teach you or us something, during that stage. So it wants to make sure that we're getting that particular message from that dream that we are experiencing. As we mentioned in the article prior to this one, sleep is not as simple as it is. There's a lot of deep work being done in the nervous system, in your consciousness, and so forth and so on. And Dylan says, I feel like I sleep all day because I lose time and sense of reality sometimes due to daydreams. Then at night, it's the same. And it's like I dream, but the sleep part didn't happen. Nothing I've tried has ever worked to get it under control. Yeah. Keep a journal is one of the things that I would highly recommend, and maybe try to control that daydreaming, because it seems that the daydreaming is controlling you. So you might allow yourself a certain time where you could daydream and then engage in real life, and then give yourself structure. This is sleep time. This is meditative time. This is exercise time. This is so forth and so on. I mean, we as human beings need structure. That is important. You can't do without structure, because then
I think also,
fall away.
Dylan, that you really do need to try to connect with more people so that you're not alone in your thoughts all the time. Because if you're able to like focus on the needs of others or helping someone else out with a chore or an errand, or if you're just like focused on other people, then you're not so in yourself.
self-consumed.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that allows us to be able to like break some of those patterns of like,
Be
that
more
constant-
altruistic,
yeah.
more out of you, not just in you all the time, and because that when one becomes so self-consumed, that's when all the reminiscence and all the things happen. Or when you get involved in other things and helping people and volunteering your time or being more physical, so you're not so much in your headspace and are doing more things that will break that cycle that you seem
But
to be in.
he says that he's by himself a
Right,
lot.
yeah.
So I think it really be helpful if you would like just go out of your way to make time that you don't usually make for interaction with others, right?
Exactly.
Marcy said, Dylan, have you ever tried?
A little caffeine to slow your brain. It doesn't work for everyone, but us more hyperactive thinkers, it'll help. Or opposites, maybe chamomile tea. That sounds like a good idea, good advice. I mean, we drink coffee every morning, so
But we're also very physically
Yeah.
active, so that helps. I don't know. I really do look forward to our walk. So recently we just started, running in the morning. So it gives us time to just do something different where we're not thinking,
So then, let's see, is it my turn or your turn? I think it's my turn.
Sure.
There are countless techniques for dealing with stress. Talking face to face with an understanding friend, just what advice you were giving to Dylan. Exercise, yoga, and meditation, for example, are a great ways to ease stress and anxiety. But it may not be practical or even possible to go for a run or meditate when you're frazzled by your morning commute, stuck in a stressful meeting at work, or fried from another argument with your spouse. For situations like this, you need something more accessible. That's where quick stress relief comes in. So let's see here. They have a little, I'm going to share this.
And I thought it was interesting that they said two of those things are things of how we are supposed to live on this planet according to our modern consumerism type mentality, our business oriented, stressful, commute to the job, work hard, come home, and then, spouses have been out of touch with each other, and then all of a sudden they're not getting along. And I mean, so It's a product
It is a
that
problem.
we've created for ourselves.
So let's see here. They've got a little guy with stress and looking at the sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and movement. Here are some of the quick stress relief that will to help you if you can't like go out for a run at the moment because you're commuting to work or whatever else. So go ahead.
Quick stress relief. The best way to reduce stress quickly is by taking a deep breath and using your senses, what you see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, or through a soothing movement by moving, viewing a favorite photo, smelling a specific scent, listening to a favorite piece of music, tasting a piece of gum, or hugging a pet. For example, you can quickly relax and focus yourself. Of course, not everyone responds to each sensory experience in the same way. The key to quick stress relief is to experiment and discover the unique sensory experiences that work best for you.
So, step 2, build emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to identify, understand, and use your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress and anxiety, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. When it comes to happiness and success in your relationship, career, and personal goals, EQ, emotional intelligence, matters just as much as the better known IQ.
Elliot says caffeine works for people with ADHD. Marcy says, yes, Mark and Lynna hit the nail on the head. Focus on others or helping others, even caring for a pet. That helps me a ton.
Yeah.
And Agnieszka says, I have insomnia and sometimes a little coffee puts me back to sleep. Interesting.
Interesting,
Right?
yeah, because usually we don't
keeps
do
people
caffeine
awake.
at night because you can't really, but everyone's nervous system is different.
Marcy says, yes, Elliot, it does help a ton. I would have coffee before class. Back in college, I was on stimulants. As a kid, they help but aren't that good for you. Dylan says, tea, coffee, soda. Yeah, music makes it worse. Routine makes my mind wander as well. Setting a timer only works temporarily because my brain resumes after I stop the timer. Not many options, but to deal with it.
Have you tried a journal and trying to understand where your thought process comes in and why you do what you do? A lot of times things are based on earlier behavior traumas that we've had to deal with. And so sometimes we create situations to hide pain, to just disassociate altogether. So maybe trying to analyze yourself a little bit more might be helpful. I don't know. So anyway,
Emotional,
okay.
anyway,
No.
emotional intelligence is commonly defined by 4 attributes. 1, self-management. You're able to control impulsive feelings and behaviors, manage your emotions in healthy ways, take initiative, follow through on commitments, and adapt to changing circumstances.
Number 2, self-awareness. You recognize your own emotions and how they affect your thoughts and behavior. That's why I said keep a journal. You learn to recognize things. You become aware, and awareness is the key to whether changing a behavior, whatever it is. You know your strength and your weaknesses and have self-confidence.
Number 3, social awareness. You can understand the emotions, needs, and concerns of other people, pick up on emotional cues, feel comfortable socially, and recognize the power dynamics in a group or organization.
That's very difficult for a lot of people this day and age because I believe a lot of people this day and age have Asperger. Asperger does not allow you to recognize your own emotions or understand body cues from others or emotional cues. And I think that's what gets a lot of us that have Asperger in trouble. So relationship management, you're able to develop and maintain good relationships, communicate clearly, which is the key, communication. It may be painful and hard, excuse me, but expressing what's on your mind, bringing it out in the open, being honest with one another, that's crucial. Inspire and influence others, work well in a team, and manage conflict.
Dylan says many have finished and now abandoned notebooks over the years.
So,
Many of us are disconnected from our emotions, especially strong emotions, such as anger, sadness, fear, because we've been taught to try to shut off our feelings. But while you can deny or numb your feelings, you cannot eliminate them. They're still there, whether you're aware of them or not. And even unpleasant emotions can have beneficial aspects. Sadness can support emotional healing. For example, fear can trigger life-saving action, and anger can mobilize and inspire. Unfortunately, without being connected to all your emotions, you can't manage stress, fully understand your own behavior, or appropriately control how you think and act. But whatever your circumstance or challenges, the skills for improving EQ and managing your emotions can be learned at any time.
so let's break this down. This is very important. And a lot of people like to numb themselves, whether it's through alcohol, food, drugs, you name it. People don't like to feel. And feeling is an important factor in life. You need to be aware of your feelings. You need to own them. Not try to eliminate them, not try to numb them. Feel them, and learn how to express what you feel. Instead of hiding it and numbing it. That doesn't help anything. Everything has a reason behind it, and it's healthy emotionally and mentally for you to be able to understand yourself and understand the dynamics that you have with people in the world, in the real world, whether it's on social media, whether it's interaction. It's important for your emotional well-being.
I think that, again, going back to that series that we've been watching on Netflix called El Dragon, the lead character suffers a tremendous loss at the very beginning of the series, in which he loses the love of his life. The woman that he had been engaged to had recently proposed to, and she dies, and he basically shuts off his emotion.
And then prior to that, he lost his family.
Prior to that, he lost his family.
And when he was a kid, his parents got blown up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So he goes and tries to disconnect his emotions from his life, but he meets a beautiful woman back in Mexico, and all of a sudden, all those emotions are made to express themselves, but he can't do it because he's telling himself, no, 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 I can't.
Like this says, while you can deny or numb your feelings, because we know we do that, people do that all the time, you can't eliminate them. They're still there, whether you're aware of them or not. And even unpleasant emotions can have a beneficial aspect. We have to give ourselves more credit as human beings. We need to stop being so fearful and stop really not wanting to be human.
Dylan says, I've been drawing a lot more than I ever have just to try and get things out on paper. But even that's hard sometimes when my body just wants to sit and dream.
I'm going to go out there and say something, and I hope you don't get offended, Dylan. I've noticed a lot of the drawings that you put out there, and they're very good, but I kind of sense a little darkness to them.
There's a lot of darkness in your
nice, but yeah.
in your drawings, and I'm sure that has some type of reason for being so. But those dark thoughts, I mean, it's great that you're getting them out on paper, but it concerns us to see that.
I haven't wanted to say anything, but since you brought it up, because we're friends on Facebook, and I see your drawing, there's a lot of darkness in the drawing. So, I mean, maybe continue to dig deep on why you draw these things and why you think the way that you do, and why you have that unrestlessness about you. What's going on deep inside you? It's
one of the things that really got us to be really concerned about those writings, those drawings that you made. And, you know, I don't want to offend or anything, but we were watching The Bird Box with Sandra Bullock, and one of the characters, he would draw these really dark, evil looking, demented kind of characters on a piece of white paper, and they look very similar to what you're drawing.
Yeah.
So there, everybody has darkness within.
Of course.
We're not exempt. Every single one of us have darkness. So, and darkness is not necessarily like Christians would say it, because there's darkness and there's lightness, right? So there are two sides of us. We have a shadow side and we have a light side.
Yeah.
And we deal with those realities that we have. And there's no judgment whatsoever on those types of things. But we would just want to encourage you to work through those things, work through the dark moments that you're experiencing, because you're young, you know, and life is full of light and it has dark moments, but we don't want to live in the darkness.
We all have dark moments. Again, a lot of it stress starts from childhood. Like Marcy said, Dylan, sorry if this is a touchy subject, but you had said before you can't be yourself yet around your family, or you come out yet. Maybe that's bothering you a lot inside too. And he said here,
yeah, I'm kind of a morbid person.
I don't think anyone is really a morbid person on their own. There's something that leads us to becoming a morbid person, because I truly believe that we all start off life. I mean, you look at babies, they're innocent, they're light, they're all about happiness and joy, and then the world changes because, you know, whether it's their parents, whatever situation. So I don't believe anybody starts off as a morbid person. I believe that life situation makes us so. So I'm hoping that you're able to work through all that stuff and really dig deep.
Dylan says, always been fascinated by dark crap, and I guess that sort of makes it into my dreams.
Okay.
Mama Lynna and Dad Mark, always looking out for us. That's why I love you guys. Very caring, humble people. Well, we care about all of you guys, and we just want you to live your best life, you know, and if we have to go through the things that we have to go through. I mean, I would never say don't go through the darkness. Go through it, but don't live there. Don't expect yourself to label yourself as a morbid person. No, there's no need, because what does morbidity create? You know, I mean, we need to go through those dark shadow moments, you know, through that valley of death and stuff, and keep moving, because there's brighter paths along the way.
So you're saying that it makes it into your dreams and that you've been fascinated. I find that a lot of individuals that were raised in a very Christian environment tend to have that battle within themselves. And it's like Lynna was saying, you need to feel it, you know, but don't live there. My famous saying is feel it, own it, then let it go. You want to try to understand it. Why do you find yourself attracted to darkness? What is about that darkness that attracts you? And again, writing it down, trying to understand who you are, why you feel and think the way that you do, going back, you know, through time, what happened in life that made you become fascinated by dark moments or dark.
And
dark
I know
things.
that coming from a Christian background myself, there's a lot of darkness there. I know that, you know, they would want to paint a picture of beautiful, rosy moments and everything, but there's so much death and destruction in fundamental Christianity. You live in fear of hellfire, brimstone, judgment, death, the end times, the opening of the scrolls, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the book of Revelation. I mean, it's like a never-ending fear fest. The rapture, being left behind. There is so much darkness in good old Christianity, right? Because that's where its power is. It's in the fear. The fear is what drives the faith.
And it's probably, what's been ingrained by your parents, that you're dark, that you're this and you're that, because they can't control you. So they're going to try to make you feel bad. Kind of like what President Trump does to people. He can't control you or what you're asking or whatever. So he's going to make the reporters feel like they're bad. And that's what your parents are doing. And if they realize the harm that they're doing to you, Dylan, I would hope that they would stop doing what they're doing, or find a way to help you heal from what they've done. Because I know I was raised in a household where everything that I said or did was considered wrong. It wasn't what mama wanted me to do. And I was always made to feel like I was just small and worthless. And parents should never do that to their children, ever,
So Elliot says, we care about you too. Thank you, Elliot. He says, thanks so much for all your kind words and advice.
It's our pleasure, Elliot. So Dylan also said, Marcy, no, actually I've been out for almost 4 years now, but never been able to get my family on board. I think all that just helps me express what I can't express anywhere else. Also, I just like creepy stuff. It's a genre thing as well.
I know the genre thing is, obviously it's something that some people like, like when I used to work in television, I remember one day that we were working in Pennsylvania or something, and then my friend was like, oh, this is where they did that really like Night of the Living Dead or something. And he's like, that cemetery is down the street. I want to go visit. He liked that dark stuff.
Right.
But what I would say is be careful what you find yourself attracted to, because those energies, there's energy in everything. Yeah. And those energies will be attracted to you if you're attracted to them. So I would also say, be careful what you find yourself connecting to.
Yeah.
Because, it's definitely something
Playing
that
with fire.
Like attracts like.
Yeah.
Playing
with fire.
So Marcy says, they teach your flesh is evil, and you begin to internalize those feelings.
Exactly. So step 3, practice the wild horse meditation. Many of us struggle to manage our emotions. Our feelings can often seem like a wild horse, full of fear and uncontrolled energy. They may cause you to freeze, act out, or shut down, making it difficult to think rationally, causing you to say and do things you later regret. Or you may go to great length to avoid difficult emotions by
distracting yourself with obsessive thoughts, mindless entertainment, and addictive behaviors. Watching television for hours, drinking, gambling, overeating, playing computer games, and compulsively using smartphones or the internet are common ways to avoid dealing with your feelings.
You see that a lot today. Sticking with one emotional response that you feel comfortable with, no matter what the situation requires. For example, constantly joking around to cover up insecurities, or getting angry all the time to avoid feeling sad or anxious.
Shutting down or shutting out intense emotions. If you feel overwhelmed by your emotions, you may cope by numbing yourself. You may feel completely disconnected from your emotions, like you no longer have feelings at all, although you do.
Right. Instead of trying to ignore strong emotions, you can accept and tame them by taking up the reins and learning how to ride them. This is where the Ride the Wild Horse mindfulness meditation comes in, as well as helping you to relax. It also teaches you how to harness all of your emotions, even the uncomfortable or overwhelming ones you've been trying to avoid. You'll learn how to ride out of intense emotions, remaining in control of the experience and in control of your behavior. So this is what to expect from this meditation.
What to expect from the meditations. The meditation they focus firstly on your breathing and progressive muscle relaxation, and then on your current emotional state. If you begin to feel overwhelmed by uncomfortable emotions, use the quick stress relief techniques you learned in step one to bring your nervous system back into balance before continuing by learning to remain mindful under stress. In this way, you'll be able to carry these feelings through into your daily life, even in situations that feel threatening, stressful, or uncomfortable. One of the things that we do is that when I'm done doing the dishes, you've already kind of de-stressed yourself a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and unwound a little bit on the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I go and get ready and get, set and all that. And then as soon as I hop into bed,
Yeah, for the meditation. I'm going to share this with you guys because there's some really good step-by-step meditations. They have the beginning meditation, which is 16 minutes. It teaches you how to relax and open yourself up to discovering physical and emotional sensations throughout your body. Move up to the intermediate meditation, which is 18 minutes, so forth and so on. So these are really, really good meditations to help. Now, continue practicing and enjoy the benefits. It's important to continue practicing the Ride the Wild Horse meditation until you're able to stay connected to your feelings and remain calm under stress in your daily life. Each time you practice the meditation, you should feel a little more energy and a little more comfortable with your emotional experience. But don't rush the meditation process. You'll absorb more if you move slowly. Take time to notice the small changes that add up to a life change.
at the end of each meditation, as you shift your attention away from exclusively internal focus back onto your everyday concerns, some awareness of what you're feeling will likely remain with you. This means that you are integrating the process into your everyday life, which will give you a greater sense of control over your emotions. Of course, learning new skills takes time and effort, especially if your energy is being sapped by depression, anxiety, or other challenges. But if you start small with baby steps, undertaken at times of the day when you have the most energy, learning can be easier than you think.
Practice, practice, practice. The more you repeat the meditations, the more comfortable you will feel with your emotions and the greater change you'll experience in your thoughts, feelings, and actions. With regular practice, you can actually change your brain in ways that will make you feel more confident, resilient, and in control.
Set up predictable challenges. Try practicing your new emotional intelligence skills at predictable times of stress when the stakes are low. For example, tune into your body while doing household chores or commuting through heavy traffic.
Expect setbacks. Don't lose hope if you backslide into old habits now and then. It happens. Instead of giving up after a setback, vow to start fresh next time and learn from your mistakes.
When in doubt, return to your body. If you're struggling to manage your mood in a tough situation, take a deep breath and apply quick stress relief.
So talk to someone about your experience. Try to find a person you can talk to about your experience with a meditation. What did you learn about yourself? Because that's the key. I said right before I go and meditate, I try to work on something, or I try to get my higher self to make some awareness of how to better myself, how to heal myself emotionally, physically, and so forth and so on. It's a place. Meditation is a place for us to grow. What did you discover about your emotions? Speaking to someone face to face will help you retain what you just learned. So let's see. Okay. So these are frequently asked questions.
How much time do I need to invest in Ride the Wild Horse? It takes about 21 to 28 consecutive days to create a new habit. But if you do the process correctly and often, you'll experience daily benefits as you want the process to become second nature to you. So don't forget, quote unquote, to apply the skills in times of extreme stress. It may take a little longer.
What should I do if I initially feel something in one part of my body and a stronger sensation occurs somewhere else? Always follow the intensity. Focus on the strongest sensation you feel.
What if I don't feel anything or I just feel empty? That's normal. Pay attention to the feelings of having no feeling or being numb or empty.
I'm getting emotional during the meditation. Is that normal? Yes. Releasing repressed feelings can be intense. If you cry, tremble, moan, or make other sounds, remember to breathe deeply and hold your focus. It is okay to experience these emotions as long as you can calm and focus yourself and feel in control of the process. If after numerous attempts you still feel uncomfortable, it may be an indication of unresolved trauma from your past, considering consulting a trauma specialist. So, I mean, this is really cool, and we're actually probably going to try some of these because they seem
Yeah.
pretty good, you know. Because that's what meditation is all about. You know, it's not only learning how to not fill your mind with thoughts, but it's learning how to become in tune with your body, with your emotions, with your reactions overall to make you a better person, to make you a better lover, to make you a better friend. You know, it's all about spiritual growth, and I believe that's what we're here on this planet to do. We're not here to build up our bank account, to build up the economy. You know, we're here to grow and help one another.
Right.
You know, so this was really, really interesting and very helpful. So let's see here. So how so consciousness on overload. I mean, I think this day and age we have too much information too quickly with all these gadgets, and it really does affect your nervous system, your emotional state. You know, that's why meditation and all the stuff that we have been talking about, sleeping right, being out in nature, is very helpful. Um, let's see. Okay, so this particular article is a memorist seeks to untangle the mass of contradictory emotions following the tragedy that changed our lives forever. The sense of purpose.
After 9/11.
Okay, but it's just
It's after 9/11.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why
I wouldn't
it
have
says-
mentioned that. Let's send off another little what you call it, words.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. So the sense of purposelessness, exhaustion setting around day 4, Friday night, a fatigue that seemed both bone deep and unjustified. Like me, most everyone I saw and spoke to the day was safe, insulated from the disaster, mere spectators. We hadn't lost loved ones. We'd only seen the devastation on TV and in pictures. We weren't involved in rescue efforts, and so our weariness felt out of proportion and strange. I walked my dog that afternoon. The people I ran into looked uniformly shell-shocked and felt uniformly guilty about it, as though we hadn't quite earned our despair. Fear and horror, the dominant sensation earlier in the week, had given way to a vague, heavy-hearted despondency by then. The stories of individuals' tragedy were beginning, cruelty to blur. Even language has failed us, leaving most people I know with a single empty fallback word: stunned. I'm stunned. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm just stunned. I went home that night, watched TV, my teeth clenched, blank-faced, and then fell into the darkest sleep.
I'm not used to harboring such a wide variety of conflicting emotions at one time. Usually it's one feeling at a time, maybe two. Anxiety here, contentment there, a dash of melancholy on a bad day, a flash of joy on a good one. By Friday and persisting well into this week, that simple synaptic system was all out of whack, consciousness on overload. This may be normal, but it's also deeply disorienting. The magnitude of the physical devastation, the fear about what it may unleash, the sense of sudden vulnerability, the reach of the grief, each life lost, touching an incalculable number of lives. This is more than an ordinary brain can process. And so the mind is left to flit from one sensation to another. It cannot land on just one. It cannot absorb them all.
And although this is something that happened back in that date, it's happening now with what's going on in the world and part of the consciousness overload that we are facing. So we have not been taught, not in school, not by our parents, not by anyone, how to handle things in life. We can barely handle one little thing at a time. So imagine the consciousness overload we're experiencing right now, which is why the neurons seem to be firing from all directions. I feel enveloped in safety, insulated within my own little house, and also deeply jittery. A plane flies overhead and I freeze. What is it? Who's on it? It's about to crash. I feel compelled to watch footage of the tower collapsing over and over and over, and then compelled to look away. Not sure what voyeurism and what's an attempt to grasp the ungraspable. One emotion surges only to supplant by its opposite. And right now, it's the same concept. We're like, how many have died? What's the count? What? Oh my goodness, this person's getting too close to me. So it's like events that bring that consciousness overload.
A blind man tells a CNN reporter how his guide dog, a yellow Labrador retriever, with the most noble gaze, led him to safety down 87 flights of stairs. And the heart melts at that miracle. Man and his brave attendant. Moments later, an executive breaks down and sobs on camera. 700 of his employees unaccounted for. Among them is his own brother. And the heart tightens and sinks a stab of pure sorrow. The most heartening pride at human kindness mixes with despair at human hatred, often in the same instant. A woman I run into tells me she started to weep without warning on a subway train in downtown Boston, and that a total stranger, a man sitting beside her, took her hand and held it, simply and firmly, for the duration of the ride. She felt so touched by this display of compassion. She cried even harder by that, but then, when she left the subway station, she saw fresh graffiti on a wall saying some really mean things.
So how to reconcile all of this? I, a woman who's never responded to an American flag with anything more stirring than benign indifferences, feel deeply, surprisingly, wholly patriotic, and also, perhaps less surprisingly, deeply skeptical, mistrustful that our political and military response will be anything but rash, expensive, and short-sighted. I feel protective and defensive about the depth of hatred towards our country, a mama bear guarding her cub. And I feel humble, aware that we've played no small part in and fomenting that animosity. And I also feel ashamed, embarrassed by the self-constructed cocoon of ignorance and complacency I've been living in. Until last week, I could not have spelled that name of that person who supposedly was responsible for that day, let alone told you what degree of threat these organized represented.
So, team joins
Hey,
us.
team.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're well. Mark and Lynna, you look great. Love the tans. Yep, we've been out in the sun.
So Dylan says, my mom wanted me to come to the store with her the other day, and I agreed because I needed a few things. I had my first anxiety attack in a while from all the people. It was a mix of people and masks. And not mask. And not mask, and it makes me really uncomfortable. And not mask. Oh, people not wearing masks makes me really uncomfortable. Yeah. Gosh, Dylan, what to say to Dylan,
I don't know.
It's sometimes life could seem overwhelming, could seem difficult, but sometimes it's not life, but it's our own thoughts. We could drown in a glass of water if we allow ourselves to do so. We've got to really break away from the things that make us fearful. And a lot of times, again, it's our thoughts. No one makes us do anything. No one does anything to us. Our own thoughts are the ones that are doing it. So we're doing it to ourselves. We need to learn how to get out of that box, pretty much. So, let's see here. How long is this thing? So,
Yeah. Where are we?
oh,
Yeah. Okay. Our culture thrives on black and white narratives, clearly defined emotions, easy endings. And so this thrust into complexity exhausts. Too many feelings competing for headspace. No happy ending in sight. No tacit belief that our minuscule attention spans will protect us this time. And little solace from our ordinary opiates, movies and sports and computer solitaire. Back then,
back then, right?
the people I talk to feel an odd, almost adolescent yearning for leadership, craving, and mistrusting it in the same breath.
And I find that to be really interesting. Humanity doesn't want to take responsibility. They're always looking for someone to lead them. And we get ourselves into trouble because we elect the wrong leaders. We need to be responsible for what we do to feel safe, for our well-being, how to provide food for ourselves if the store is closed down. Most people are not aware of the foods that surrounds them that are grown by nature or creating a garden, things of that nature. Or we numb ourselves with, things like sports and movies and things. I believe that life is trying to teach us something. What happened back in September of that year is kind of no different than what's happening now, except now it's more global,
Right.
And I believe that I don't want to say that it's a bad thing, because I believe that a good thing is happening from all of this. Is getting us to stop being that baby that's waiting for mama's booby to feed them. It's getting us to look at the bigger picture in life. It's getting us to realize what really matters and what does not. So some of us feel compelled to reach out, give blood, light candles, sign petitions, anything, and simultaneously compelled to retreat edges of paranoia leaking in. Like right now, we see all the paranoia with all these conspiracies. Well, there's a lot of conspiracies back on that started on that. And I was one of those conspirators, But now I think differently. It's like, so what does that solve? Believing that the world's out, or people in the world out to get us. I feel catapulated from one extreme to another, protected 1 minute and vulnerable the next, heartsick and then detached, connected and then estranged. So full of goodwill one moment, I like to hug the guy at Starbucks who pours my coffee. So irritable the next, I like to slap the man who cuts in front of me while I'm trying to pour milk.
Mostly I feel unmoored, some rock of permanence and safety having given way to shifting sands, the familiar, now eerily unfamiliar. Sirens sound different, scary, and consoling at the same time. Work feels irrelevant, normalcy as yet undefined. I suppose this is what people mean when they talk about being stunned, this gamut of feeling which overwhelms the psychic system, leaves you feeling exhausted and powerless and unable to tease out one emotion from the next. And I think the response is both human and frightening. Surely it's one of the ways that the things that bad people do, and they're attacking countries, intended effects to literally stun our morale, to blow up strength, and will, along with it's always
Structures.
And the reaction is hard to encounter.
It's just, you got these little gizmos that every time they hear a key word, then they don't allow you to advertise, and you have to go in and, it's crazy that. But, I understand it. There's a lot of videos and people are making conspiracy videos out there that are creating fear, so the internet could be a weapon. And it obviously is causing a lot of turmoil. And, we've got to be careful what we watch, what we say, so that we don't create more discord. Because discord doesn't help anyone. It really doesn't. We need to find a peaceful place, adjust to life, whatever takes place. Whatever we have to do to be at peace with one another is what needs to be done. This fighting, this discord doesn't help anyone. On Saturday, still feeling blank and enervated, I spent part of the afternoon at a gathering of people who met to talk about caring for a mutual friend, a man who's dying of cancer at the age of 49. A lot of people, you know, that's one of the things that we should all be very aware of is this cancer, which I believe is taking over a lot of us. And we have to wonder why. Is it our thinking, not only of what we're eating, our emotions are destroying ourselves? The lens shifted suddenly, the unfathomably wide panorama of disaster yielding to a much more personal and individual close-up tragedy, and suggested something to me about the numbing effect of emotional overload, which can so easily mutate into a kind of hopeless despair.
I did not particularly want to go to this meeting. I drove there feeling fragile and depressed, but I showed up anyway and sat in a room with 20 other people and faced a loss in a communal and reflective way. We talked about how we felt about watching our friends die, what we're scared of. We talked about practical things we could do, cooking meals, doing laundry, spending time with him.
You know, one of the things that I've become aware, people don't know how to face death. They don't know how to deal with it. They're fearful of it. And I think that leads us to a lot of our emotional and mental problems. You know, we create religion to make us feel better about dying. And in my opinion, death should not be feared because these things that we walk in are temporal. The spirit lives forever. And I think when we make peace with that, nothing that happens to us could ever create a rise out of us, could ever tear us down. All these depression, anxiety, and anger, fear, all the stuff that we feel is all controlled by your thought process. And when we learn to negotiate our environment, when we learn how to control our emotions and our feelings, we're better off for it. So that's why your article we read is a perfect toolkit. You know, really learning how to empower yourself so you're not a victim anymore. So you're not led by dark thoughts, as in you, Dylan, you know, and learning how to control your emotion and your thinking process so you can control how you deal with people and relationships. So everything is not based on an attack. I mean, look at our world today. The person that's leading America is the least emotionally stable human being that I've ever seen. And he's running a country. That tells us something. We, the people, I didn't vote for him, but people that voted for him, you know, you got to think of what kind of emotional, you know, state we're in.
Unlike the thousands of lives so hideously obliterated without warning, this man and the people who love him have an opportunity to approach death consciously and with foresight, to say things that need saying, to help one another without the mobilizing impetus of disaster.
This too is exhausting work, but it's important work. It values immediate and tangible, and it reminds me that the line between feeling stunned and being passive can be very thin. I can give blood. I can send money to relief organization. I can write letters and sign petitions.
I can also be present and active in my own small world, which is a gift that cries out for recognition, even from this stunning roar of mixed emotion.
And everything that's said about in this article, which happened back in September years ago, could be said with right now. And a lot of people are scared. Death is like being put right in their face. A lot of people have lost their loved ones. We could grow and learn from all of this, learn to communicate better, not live in fear, not let conspiracies guide our lives as is doing right now. So here are 10 steps. This for overcoming overload. Because obviously it's something that we face. So we've all heard the phrase information overload. It reminds us of tweets, texts, emails, that endless stream of interesting articles on Facebook, those viral videos we can't help but click on, the numerous phone photos and videos we take, secret posts, fleeting snapshot photos, and more.
But actually, the cognitive flood can be even simpler than that, says Daniel Levitin, McGill University psychology professor and author of the book, The Organized Mind, Thinking Straight in the Age of Information Overload.
So in 1976, there were 9,000 products in the average grocery store, and now it's ballooned to 40,000 products. I mean, who needs to like sit there? Should I get this? No, I need to get it. No, I'll get it. It's like it's information overload, and yet most of us can get almost all our shopping done in just 150 items. So you're having to ignore tens of thousands of times every time you go shopping. He says.
By one calculation, he says, we've created more information in the last 10 years than in, get this, all of human history before that. I've read estimates that there were 30 exabytes of information 10 years ago, and today there are 300 exabytes of information, he says.
All of this is more information than the brain is configured to handle. We're not built to have the amount of information at our fingertip, to have letters and words and videos and things constantly, and we wonder what we have mental illnesses, right? The conscious mind can pay attention to 3, maybe 4 things at once. If you get much more than that, you begin to exercise poor judgment, you lose track of things, and you lose your focus.
Considering that Americans took in 5 times as much information every day in 2011 as they did in 1986, we have to make a conscious effort to beat back the flood. Here are Levitin's top 10 tips for thinking straight, overcoming procrastination, and putting in less time, but getting more done.
Do a brain dump is number 1. Do we have anything you want to?
Dylan says, I'm not scared of death, impatient, numb, and apathetic maybe, but I'm way past being scared at this point. I'm planning a celestial pizza party.
There you go.
And he says, honestly, I don't think it's death people are afraid of. It's the pain that causes death, no matter what kind or how much. People want peaceful deaths, but that's very rarely realistic.
I mean, I truly believe there are a lot of people out there that are fearful of dying. I think that's always been, that's why people are so obsessed. Are they going to heaven? Are they going to hell? Where am I going? It's like, I'm not afraid of dying. I don't want to, my fear is I don't want to like be maimed and be a burden on anyone or have to drag on some illness that, the dying moment to me is not, a thing. But I believe, I don't know about you, that a lot of people are fearful of dying.
I'm sure they are.
So now let's do a brain dump. Get things out of your head. Getting things done productively, Guru David Allen recommends what he calls clearing the mind. This means creating a big list of everything floating around your head, and that's where meditation comes in.
Also, immediately write down any thought that interrupts your workflow. Writing these thoughts down gets them out of your head, clearing your brain that is interfering with being able to focus on what you want to focus on. He says in the book, it also gives permission to your mind to, quote, relax its neural circuits so that we can focus on something else, unquote.
Once on paper, prioritize the items in these buckets: things to do today, things to delegate, things to do this week, and things to drop. Allen calls these categories: do it, delegate it, defer it, drop it.
If you find an item that just keeps lingering on your list, it may be ill-defined, not actionable. For instance, you may write, decide, quote unquote, whether or not to get a new car this year. That would be better broken down into subtasks, such as find out what your car is worth on Kelley Blue Book, ask the car mechanic how much it would cost to keep your current car on the road, etc.
But yeah, get rid of your car and walk. Right. Number 2, follow the 2-minute rule. If you have a lot of little tasks, designate 45 minutes or an hour every day to plow through any items that will take you 2 minutes or less, like emails, phone calls, tidying up, checking your financial account, etc. If you're not sure how long tasks take you, follow these time tracking techniques from most successful people.
Number 3, clump together similar tasks. If you have several bills, pay them all at once. If you're going to clean the house, don't get distracted by reorganizing your closet. Completing each task once you begin is another way of being efficient with your mental resources. It forces you to keep attention on one item for a span of time. This allows us to get more done and finish up with more energy, writes Levitin.
And I find that a lot of people that have ADHD and they have a hard time really focusing on something. I've always, I could get myself into trouble. That's why I have to be very directed with myself so that I can complete things. Don't multitask. Multitasking costs you by forcing you to decide whether to answer or ignore a text, how you should respond, how you should file this email, whether you should stick with what you're working on or attend to the interruption. All those little decisions spend oxygenated glucose, the very fuel you need to focus on a task.
Switching between tasks will actually make you feel exhausted, disoriented, and anxious, writes Levitin. In contrast, once we engage the central executive mode, staying in that state uses less energy than multitasking and actually reduces the brain's need for glucose.
That old saying with the spirituality, stay present in the moment. I think a lot of people have a hard time with that because of that overload. People, you start here, then you go here, and then it's like people can't focus, and it's because of all the excess. Multitasking trips us up in other ways. Stanford neuroscientist Russ Poldrack found that for students who study and watch TV simultaneously, information that should go into the part of the brain for facts and storage may end up in the area for learning new procedures and new skills. If you find it especially hard to disengage, try adopting other habits.
Number 5, limit the distraction of email. Just having the opportunity to multitask is detrimental to cognitive performance, writes Levitin. Glenn Wilson of Gresham College in London found that having an unread email in your box while you're trying to complete a task can chop 10 points off of your effective IQ. Wilson even showed that multitasking is even more of a detriment to memory and our ability to concentrate than smoking pot is.
And see, what is it that we see this day and age? It's like you work for a corporation, they expect you to multitask. They expect you to do a bunch of things, and that's not how we're meant to function, Since having emails come in every few minutes is so bad for your decision-making skills and impaired judgments. What do the phones do? Boop, notification. Levitin recommends tricking your brain into staying on track. For instance, set aside 2 or 3 times a day for email. Turn off notifications so you're not constantly being interrupted. Many people have their email program set to put through arriving emails automatically or to check every 5 minutes. Think about that. If you're checking emails every 5 minutes, you're checking in 200 times during the workday, writes Levitin. It's, that's bizarre. And we wonder why we've got issues,
Number 6, quote unquote, eat the frog first thing in the morning. We start each day with our energy for that day. As the day goes on, every decision, whether trivial or momentous, consumes a bit of our glucose. Questions like, quote, should I use a blue or green pen, unquote, draws from the same energy store as, quote, I've just been diagnosed with C. Should I opt for radiation or surgery?
Important decisions should be made at the beginning of the day when gumptions and glucose is highest, says Levitin, adding that Oscar-winning producer Jake Eberts used to have a dictum, eat the frog.
If you eat a frog first thing in the morning, the rest of the day goes better, says Levitin. So whatever is the most unpleasant thing to do it first in the morning. Set aside that time with all distractions turned off and adopt the mindset that task is the most important thing you could be doing at that time.
What I do, it's like I don't check my emails or my phone or whatever during the course of the entire day. First thing, I get it out of the way in the morning, usually the nasty emails and this and the other, get all that, and then it's like out of sight, out of mind. Because it's that constant. And at bedtime, I don't even look at my phone. I put the meditation music, whatever, and that's it, because I don't want that in my mental psyche. Number 7, spend only as much time on decision, tasks, and activities as they're worth. If you want to organize bills and receipts, there's no need to go to the stationery store, color code files, and spend the next 6 weekends organizing papers, unless you need to access these files all the time. If you're talking about organizing 5-year-old bills and receipts, just throw them in a box. When you need something, look for it, says Levitin.
Number 8, take breaks. People who take a 15-minute break every couple of hours are much more efficient in the long run, says Levitin, adding that it gives the brain a chance to hit the reset button in a part of the brain called the insula. So taking a break, taking a nap, taking a walk around the block, listening to music, these activities, although most bosses would think that they're a waste of time, in fact, they are a big adjunct to predict productivity and creativity. On average, a 15-minute nap can increase your effective IQ by 10 points, he says. Though there are individual differences, for most people, however, an hour or two is too long.
Number 9, let yourself daydream. The brain operates in 2 oppositional modes. One is when you're directing the thoughts, and the other is when the thoughts take over and run themselves, says Levitin. Directing mode is the one that allows us to get our work done, whether we are an office worker, chef, or tile layer, but our minds can't stay in one gear all day long.
In daydreaming mode, says Levitin, one thought melds into another, and they're not particularly related. This daydreaming mode acts as a neural reset button and replenishes some of the glucose you used up in staying on a task.
It also has the great benefit of fostering creativity. The thoughts meander from one to another, creating links between things we might not have seen before, and from that may come to the solution to problems, says Levitin.
Number 10, push down authority. Managers tend to think the workers below them are as just doing the work for the paycheck, says Levitin. But most workers report they love their jobs, even in jobs where you wouldn't think that's possible, like working in a city sewer system, having to shovel manure out of the stable, or people doing heavy labor with jackhammers, things that might sound unpleasant.
For that reason, most workers like at least some autonomy, and that's great for managers who may be suffering from information overload, because they can then push down authority and empower people under them to exercise their good judgment.
For instance, General Stanley McChrystal told Levitin about how soldiers used to call him from Iraq in the middle of the night and say, "We've been watching this building and we think it might have some munitions in it. We'd like your permission to be as in destroy it."
Yeah.
He'd say, "There's nothing you could tell me on the phone at 2 a.m. in 5 minutes that's going to make me more expert than you already are. You've been watching this building for 6 weeks. If you think we should destroy it, you should."
Interesting.
Okay.
Let's see here. And
Dylan
last,
says it's a skill that is supposed to be necessary for most jobs, yet it's one of the things that is the hardest for the average person to actually do. Multitasking.
yeah, but it's it's hard to be good at something if you're doing too many things at once. And our nervous system is not set up to do that. I mean, in today's productivity world, because they want you to produce for them, of course they teach people to multitask, and we think we're great for doing that, but it takes away from the present moment, enjoying what you're doing and really becoming aware, and we're all guilty of that, because that's how we've been taught. So, are you longing for more than a life of unfulfilling work, nightly TV watching, and material possession accumulation? If so, you aren't the only one. As more and more people understand that many illusions within our limited reality, certain very necessary inner transformations are happening to people all over the planet.
Are you one of these people? Are you unsatisfied with your current life or the outside world? It's quite possible that you are now undergoing or might soon undergo a quote unquote spiritual awakening. Like a butterfly emerging from its cocoon, once your inner transformation to a higher level of consciousness is complete, likely benefits,
A bulletproof sense of inner peace.
true happiness, no matter the circumstances in your life.
And that's very key for a lot of people. Always say, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy if. You're happy no matter what. Happiness is not something you attain. Joy and happiness within you. Feeling at one with everyone and everything, which right now in the day and age we're living with, everybody's like attacking one another. It's crazy.
Unconditional love for all living beings.
Even that president that we so not like, finding your true self and your true path.
A worry, stress, anxiety free natural existence.
A very fulfilled, meaningful life.
Deep healing of mind, body, and spirit.
A permanent higher shift in consciousness and understanding. So before we tell you the very best tool during this critical time of transition, which happens to also be the best tool for triggering spiritual awakening, it is important to understand a spiritual awakening common signs, symptoms, and stages.
Letting go of once tightly held beliefs and views.
And that's hard for a lot of people because once we have a belief, we hold on to that. Zoning out for extended periods of time, feeling spaced out.
Sensitivity to negative people and events, especially the news.
Feeling of tingling electrical-like energy running through the parts of the body.
Having more meaningful dreams, being able to decipher dream state imagery and messages.
Becoming aware of and seeing the meaning behind synchronicities, the seemingly unrelated events and signs we see and experience but mostly ignore.
Wishing to break away from blind conformity, outdated illusion, institutions, unnecessary customs, and the overall status quo.
Unexplained changes in appetite and eating habits. Weight may sometimes look younger.
Wishing to spend more time in nature.
Spontaneous healing of long-held ailments.
Changes in what you read, do with your spare time, or watch on TV, even cutting the cord altogether.
Greater awareness of yourself and the outside world.
A greater sense of inner peace and interconnectedness with intermittent periods of emotional upheaval.
No, this is not a test. It is perfectly natural and normal to experience just a few of these signs and symptoms. Not every stage must be passed. For a true spiritual awakening, we are all different. And I don't believe anyone has a spiritually awakening format or formula or whatever,
However, once your consciousness upgrade has been achieved, once the whole process is in the books, your life will be 100% revolutionized with countless benefits seen on all fronts.
So what's the secret? How to initiate and fully achieve a spiritual awakening?
Meditation. The only way to train/upgrade the body to absorb the massive influx of scientifically proven quantum energy present during a spiritual awakening, especially at this time on the planet. Meditation is the number one tool before, during, and after this wonderful process.
So, it sounds simple. It sounds too good to be true. But I truly believe meditation is the answer. And it's very, very helpful. So that's it, folks. So, before you buy. Let's see. That was it. So, yeah, we're living in times where I truly believe that we need to become more in tune with our spiritual emotions, think less with our brain, and direct themselves more with their heart. It's challenging not to get frustrated with a lot of people, and it's work in progress. With even the leader of the United States, as much as you kind of want to do one of these things, he's human. I'm sure he's having a hard time, stressed out, doesn't have the coping mechanism to deal with things, but then he shouldn't have the job that he has either.
Well, I kind of look at where I was at this time last year and where I'm at now, emotionally, spiritually. Um, I find that where I'm at now, from compared to where I was before, it seems to be like a transformation for me, because there was a lot of negativity that I was dealing with around that time. Last year, we were going through a divorce and all the things and animosities that we were attacking each other online. And, there was like this sea of people who were like attracted to the negativity. They liked hearing the bad things and stuff. And it seems like when we stopped being negative towards each other, it's like they were no longer really interested in our lives as much. And I find that focusing on that type of negativity and everything was really not beneficial for any reason, purpose, or plan for either your life or my life. It was really a waste of energy and a waste of like time.
And toxic.
Yeah,
and toxic
and destructive.
Yeah.
So now it's like I don't really like to focus on that stuff. I mean, even the things that the president does, I'm even thinking like, do I really need to repost some negative thing that the president did just because it got under my skin? Who is it going to help?
Exactly. Growing every day. It's like this is not we don't have a manual. We, as every day goes by, you meditate, you're in nature, you start to become more aware. And awareness is the beginning of healing. We all need healing. There's none of us on this planet that's got the full truth, that's got it all together. None of us do. We each take our steps to get to a better place. I see the changes in you, I see the changes in me. Are we perfect? Of course not. It's like a continual thing. But definitely as each year passes by, things do get better. And as long as you're making, what's the word? As long as you're making progress, that's all you could ask for. And it's what I found out, that we're not here to grow our bank account. We're here to grow our spirits.
I think the beautiful thing is that through all the things that we've been through with regards to everything that's happened this year, it's really given me a sense of gratefulness, and I welcome the challenges and the things that we've had to endure. The closing of being able to go to a buffet, for instance. I mean, it's like we were didn't see the whole thing, the whole calamity that came across the world happening, but it's like, do we really need to eat as much food as we feel like eating on a certain given moment? Do we really need to buy the things that we buy at the stores, like shopping malls and things, and going here and there and going to a bar and drinking? And I mean, do we really need all of that?
No.
It's like this quarantining time maybe has given people an ability to open up a new, fresh perspective on what's important and what's not. Maybe there have been marriages that have been healed through the close interaction and being in the face of each other, and the slowing down of life. The kids being able to connect with their parents in a way that they wouldn't have been able to. So there's been tremendous good that's been brought through all of this. And the reality that, we're all in this together, that there's a connectedness that we have. that we can actually help each other and become better people.
And that's what it's all about. You know, I believe that the more we look at the bigger picture and put finances aside. And I know it's scary. Some people don't know how they're going to pay their mortgage. You know, but when we take the attitude, do the birds worry where they're going to get the next meal? They don't, because things just happen. It's incredible, the fortitude and the ability that we humans have to survive. And sometimes we need to get pushed to our limit to be able to grow, evolve, and change. And I believe that's what needs to happen for us to get out of this rut that we've been in before this particular event took place. I think it's important. I think it's the biggest gift that we have been given.
You know, the planet is heading for a reset, and we understand that. But there's one of two ways that you could look at it. You could look at it as doomsday, destruction. You know, things aren't going to be as you wanted them to be because your systems are falling and crashing to the ground, and you know there's going to be all this chaos and stuff. Or you could look at it as an opportunity and a way to actually grow and develop and to open up your mind to understanding things that you might not have understood before, and knowing that this new world that we're walking into is going to be a more beautiful place to live in. And yeah, volcanoes need to erupt in order for beautiful things to come, about. I mean,
fires need to destroy
I'll never
forests.
forget when we went to that mountain, to the volcano at Mount St. Helens, and they said that everything on that side of the mountain was obliterated, and that the beautiful thing what happened was like only days later animals started bringing seeds to different places in the area, and now it's one of the most biodiverse areas that the planet has. Life has regenerated in a way that's been absolutely beautiful. So if this planet is headed for a massive reset, if we're going to be heading into some really desperate times, we can look at it as a destruction, or we can look at it as a new chapter, a new beginning, and that to me is exciting, that we don't have to depend on the systems of power that have been in play in this world for thousands of years, that we don't have to live by the almighty dollar and the religious systems that control it. I mean, that we're heading towards a new world, and it's a beautiful thing.
And we need to realize that we should be grateful, because a lot of people have been living life on an attitude of just that everything is, what is that word, entitlement. People are entitled, they believe, to live a certain way, and that's not the way life is. We have been living in a very different world compared to our ancestors, and we have no respect for the planet or each other. And I believe what's taking place is going to help us change that, because we've been heading a wrong path, a path of destruction. So welcoming what's taking place, changing our attitude, learning to appreciate things, not living life in fear, not fighting one another because we have different belief systems or different way of viewing things. It's important. It's important for us to learn to coexist and be in a place of love.
We were on a walk recently, and we both had to check ourselves because we wanted something to happen, right? When we were talking about, man, I wish something would happen to challenge the president and stuff or something. And then we're like, oh, wait a minute. I guess that's not the greatest attitude to have, I mean, wish good things and blessings and stuff, and realize that people are human and that they are worthy of being loved and respected, so but it's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard, but that's really what the universe wants us to do.
We're being challenged.
Do to others what you would want them to do to you. Treat others the way you would want to be treated. regardless of how these people act. They don't deserve.
And it's hard. It's very
Yeah.
hard because, I mean, when we hear them talk, and it's like, you know, you get that frustration, that anger, but that's where we're being tested. Are we doing the right thing? Are we saying the right thing? Are we forgiving? Are we coming from a place of compassion? Or are we angry, frustrated, and want to see destruction on others? And that's where we all have a role to play, and we all have what we do will affect our spiritual growth or lack thereof.
And the whole concept of wishing anything negative on anybody serves actually no purpose whatsoever in helping the planet, in helping ourselves, or in helping others. So it's kind of like, you know, we need to just drop that negativity.
And that's
And it's
the
tough.
task. It's
It's
tough,
tough.
but that's the task at hand.
Yeah.
You know, I love you.
Me too.
I turn my hat this way because it's like it's bugging. But anyway, all right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you all are doing well. Continue to do well. Hope those links that we shared in the meditation and in the articles and things of that nature will be helpful. That's what we're here to do: is to grow, evolve, and heal. You know, money, although supposedly necessary in this day and age, is not that important. And if we allow a shift to take place and we change the way we think and the way we live our lives, great things are going to happen.
Well, we love you.
But remember to
Always
always love
love
yourselves
yourselves
too. Mwah. Bye-bye. Right, and Marcy says, oh, that was so sweet. I really enjoy our talks with you and everyone in the chat. Thank you, Marcy. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, Elliot. Thank you, Teen, and everybody else.
What was that person? Agnieszka.
Agnieszka was a troll. Didn't work, though. We learned, because usually we get all like, and we're like, yeah, okay. All right. All right, guys. Be well, stay safe, and see you soon.